So welcome to Small Farm Living. If we haven't met before, my name's Julie and I have a small flower and veg farm, but I also do crafting videos, which is why you're here because it is first of the month challenge. So let's get up into the house and get some crafting done. So let's just jump right into craft number one. Now, if you caught one of my previous videos, it was one or two ago, I told you that I would share with you how I make this sweet little bird. Now, this map, my daughter got a hold of it when she was younger and crafted with it, and it's a hot mess, but it still works. This is the template for the bird. I'm going to try and put a link down in the description below for you for a printable download. If I can't figure it out, I promise I will work on it. And this is the fabric we're going to use today. I got this at the Hobby Lobby, probably a couple years ago. I'm not sure if they still sell the same print, but purple is my favorite color. I just love it. But before we cut that out, I just want to show you some of the birds. I already have some of them partially put together, and these are some of the other fun fabrics that I make my birds out of. Now, I used to sell these on my Etsy shop. I kind of took a break when my daughter was going through all her cancer treatments. It was just too much. So that's why I have some of these pre-made ahead of time. Was just for that purpose. But as you can see, they're really cute and you can use all kinds of fun fabrics. But today we're going to try to put the bird in the right direction to where we can get the most flower bang for our buck within our little birdie. And the way I had it in the first place was probably the best. I just want to make sure the fold is even enough so when I trace it out here, it's not off center. This is a cutting wheel with kind of like a fluted edge, and you can use this if you want. I just kind of find it hard to get the lines straight. Now the pinking shears are my favorite simply because when I cut it out, I can match the triangles up at the corner. And so it just looks like one consecutive cut. With that one, I have a little bit more trouble when it comes to the corners. I have tried it before. If you can get it to work, great. But the first thing I like to do on this is just to take my regular fabric shears and cut the shape out so I'm not fighting with the whole bulk fabric. And what I like about this design is you can place them kind of back to back like this, and you get more bang for your buck out of this piece of fabric. So first thing we're going to do, I hadn't ran downstairs yet in my craft room and grabbed my straight pins. I just had a little safety pin here, and I'm going to pin it together so that the two pieces of fabric stay together. And with this design, because you are not turning it inside out, everything can be done with the right sides facing out. And so I'm just going to get up close here so you can see when I'm cutting with my pinking shears, every time I stop cutting and open the scissors to adjust it, I make sure that that little triangle matches up perfectly with my previous cut. So again, like I say, when I get around the whole thing, there's no wonky looking pinking cut marks, if you get my drift. It's just one nice continuous long line of perfectly cut pinking shears. And the blue marker that I used on this, it's actually a fabric marker, and it will just wash right off with some water. So I'm just going to finish cutting this out, and here is our sweet little bird. And I love this design. The back doesn't have quite as much floral on it, so depending on your preference, I just want the most purple as possible. So what I'm going to do, I need an 11-inch ribbon for hanging and 11 inches of jute, and I like to write that on my template so I never forget. And I loved this purple ribbon. It matched my flowers beautifully. So I'm just going to measure out 11 inches here and cut my ribbon, and then I'm just going to use my ribbon instead of fighting with my measuring tape there and pull this out. Measure off an 11-inch section for that and get that cut out as well. And now that I have those cut, the first thing that I like to do on my bird is get the feet done. Now what we're going to do is fold this in half. And the reason why we want to do that is the folded end is going to be sticking up inside the bird about an inch, like that. And that'll be secured inside the bird, and these are the little feet that will hang down. So first we're going to, on one side, do a little knot, and then you just want to secure that with a little bit of room down at the bottom. It just depends on how big you want his feet to be, and I found just by eyeballing approximate this size, it works really great. Now with the second one, you want to pinch the two ends together, and then with your fingers just very carefully adjust that knot before you tighten it down so that you have even feet. And then you're going to undo the bottom of the foot. And jute twine has about 3 pieces that are wrapped together. So if you very carefully take those apart, you'll end up with the 3 little pieces, and it looks like the 3 little kind of prongs on a little bird's foot. Turns out really cute. For some reason, this side was a little bit more stuck together than the other. But if you go very careful and keep those, like I say, those 3 strands together and you don't fuzz them out, they just totally look like cute little bird feet. So there is that. And then that is how it will look once we get it tucked inside. But that is the last step in making this bird. Now the next thing that we want to do is to take the ribbon, and there's 2 ways you can do it. You can actually match the ends up of the ribbon that you're putting down inside the top of the bird and secure it like this. But what I have found when I do them this way is when they're free hanging, meaning they're not against the wall, they will kind of teeter to one side or the other because of the way the ribbon is. So to avoid that, I just take the ribbon and make sure it's all in the same direction, and then I put 2 separate pieces in instead of, securing them together. And that way it seems to have a better hanging, it seems to hang better straight and not wanting to float to one side or the other. So I went down and I got my straight pins. These are heart pins. I got them just for you guys because I never really use them, but I thought it would be fun for this video. So what we're going to do is open up the bird, and then we are going to take our ribbon and tuck it down inside there about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch. Just depends on your preference, how long you want your string to be. And then once we get those in there, we are going to take another one of our straight pins, and we are going to go down and secure one side of that ribbon and come back up securing the other side so that it doesn't go anywhere. And then we are going to glue this together. Now, if you want to sew it, I actually sew all of mine, but for the sake of this video, if you know how to sew, you know how to sew. And just a small little seam allowance all around the edge. But because a lot of people don't know how to sew, we are going to glue this one. So by leaving about 1.5 inches and just starting on one side and doing a small seam allowance all around the bird with glue, or again if you sew, and leaving 1.5 inches at the bottom, that allows for us to stuff the bird and to get the feet in. So I'm going to use this super Fabri-Tac, and we are going to start at the top and secure the ribbon in place first before we go around the rest of the bird. And I like this over hot glue because hot glue, when you use it, it kind of leaves a really hard bead where the glue has been, and the Fabri-Tac doesn't. It's pretty smooth and you don't feel that bump. Now, if you don't mind, no big deal, but if you're giving this away as a gift, it is kind of nice to not have that hard little lump on your bird. So I'm just putting a very thin layer, but it does still come through the fabric and get your fingers a little sticky. So less is more on this. You don't really need a whole lot for it to give you a secure hold. Now, if I can get these 2 pieces separated, what I'm going to do is add a bead onto the back and then one across the front, right where the ribbon is, and get that secured in place. And then I'm going to flip it over, and only where the ribbon is am I going to put some more glue on the back side. Now, when you do the main part of the bird, just gluing onto one side is plenty enough, but because I really want the string to be secured, and again, the feet the same thing, I do it on both sides just in that spot. So I'm just going to glue all the way around, again, leaving 1.5 inches. Now, this is lavender that I grow here on my farm, and I dry it, and I use it in a lot of different things. And one of the things I like to do is use it when I stuff my birds, or I make lavender sachets. And of course, because this is purple, we have to put some lavender in it. Now, a lot of times I use polyfill as well. But again, because he's lavender, he's going to have lavender. And you see how tight that bond is? This sat for probably 2 hours and dried while I went down to the greenhouse and did some more things. But what I'm going to do, now this is a little container that I got a couple years ago at the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to use this to kind of hold the bird while I'm filling it. And then any spillage that goes over, I can capture that and get it back into my container. This is a funnel from the Dollar Tree. I cut the end off to make it bigger. And I kind of sized it so that when I have 1.5 inches opening in the bottom, this goes in there perfectly. And it helps fill the bird faster. It doesn't get all crammed up in the very bottom of the tight funnels. Now I'm just going to pour some of my lavender in there. It smells delicious, but it is a little dusty. I was sneezing because of the dust, but oh my goodness, it's so worth it because it smells so good. And then I take a barbecue skewer, if I can keep my hands on it, and then I just start wiggling the lavender around, and before long it's all down inside of my bird. And then before I completely fill it, I take it out, and then I take the blunt end of my barbecue skewer, and down at the very top where the beak is, I want to shove as much lavender into that as I can. Now I'm not rough, but I am using some pressure, and this Fabri-Tac holds super great, so you don't have to worry about busting the seams. Again, as long as you're careful, you don't want to be rough, but I'm doing the same thing to the tail. Up where the eyeball is, that tends to be the point where it kind of slacks a little bit. Polyfill usually gets it a little bit better, but lavender, because there's so many pieces, it shifts around a little bit. Sometimes it doesn't get as tight as I like up by the eye, but that's okay. The smell makes up for it. So now that we've got the tail and the beak stuffed as tight as we can, we're going to add a little bit more lavender until we have it full. And we don't want it overflowing because we don't want the lavender to get in the way of the glue when we're sealing this shut. Or again, when you're using a sewing machine, you need to have room for that presser foot to go over the base of the bird without the lavender getting in the way. So now we're going to take our feet and the rounded end, we're just going to crimp that together. We're going to move the lavender out of the way, and we are going to stick that rounded end up into the bird about a ½ inch to an inch. So we are going to put some of this glue around the bottom of one side and then around the top on the other side, because again, we want adhesion on both sides where we have our hanging ribbon and our feet. We're going to shove that up in there, and then we are going to pinch it tight around the jute twine for the feet. Now this part does get, your fingers do get a little tacky from the glue. There's not really much way around that, but I just press it down as hard as I can, and then I grabbed a little candle, it's kind of an empty old candle jar, it's pretty heavy, and I set it down on top of the feet and I let it set there until it was completely dried. And this is what the little bird looks like when it's all done. Isn't it sweet? I just love the little feet. That's probably my favorite thing. And the pinking shears, the little edge that it makes around the outside. I really love this design because, again, you don't have to sew and then turn it inside out and trim it. It's just a real simple, easy project. And I wanted to show you these. These are just some other fabrics that I used. I have these hanging on my mantle for Easter. And again, these are the ones that I used to sell in my Etsy shop. So let me know what you think of these sweet little birds. This is just the same kind of a thing, but I did an Easter egg. And this one I just put a little ribbon rose up at the top. So as I mentioned, we are doing the first of the month challenge. It is hosted by Rustic and Lace DIY, and it is also hosted by At Home with Gigi. The links to their channels will be down in the description, as well as the link to the playlist with all the other awesome creators. So be sure, once this video is over, you go down and check out what they made. Now let's get back to more crafting. So now we are on to craft number 2. And on this craft, I found this tin and I lost the footage of what it looked like beforehand. I apologize. It was really bizarre. It was like a red Christmas fabric with white writing on it. And it just looked really kind of hokey with that kind of mustard yellow knob at the top of this tin. And so I soaked it with some water and got it off the best that I could. And then I just took some white craft paint and put a layer all the way around it. And then I took it in the bathroom, blew it dry so that it was ready to go. And then once it was dry, I wanted to take some more of this parchment paper that I found at the Hobby Lobby. I just think it's beautiful. But I thought these yellow flowers matched this mustard color on this lid perfectly. So I'm going to measure the distance that I want between the base and the top rim. I'm going to transfer that measurement onto the back of my parchment paper. And then off camera, I did get a straight edge and draw a straight line between those 2 points. And then I just cut it out so I had my nice strip of paper to wrap around my canister. And I'm going to use this in my craft room just to hold some things. And I love upcycling some things like this so that when I'm in my craft room and I'm looking at things or needing things, I enjoy the prettiness of my containers almost as much as I do crafting the project. So I'm going to start at the back. There's a seam on the back of this canister. So I just started there, made sure it was secured down. And then I just did little sections at a time going around so that I didn't fight the paper and the glue. And then at a certain point, you kind of have to be careful and adjust it a little bit because it wants to get off center. I overlapped it just a little bit at the end, put another layer of Mod Podge all around it. And then the top of the canister I thought was looking a little bare. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I just decided to rip out a few of the flowers and the greenery leaves and Mod Podge some of those on the top so it wasn't plain. And then the little rim around the top of the canister, I found this moss green ribbon at the Dollar Tree, and at first I was going to use my hot glue gun and glue the ribbon on there, and as soon as I put it on there, I was like, oh, what am I doing? That makes a hard lump on the back. So I scrapped that. I took it back off, and luckily it was only the starting point that I did. Grabbed my Super Fabri-Tac again, and I used this to put it on the lid, and it worked much better. And the thing I like about this is this stuff grabs and it holds, and it has a little bit of flexibility to adjust before it sets. So kind of one of my new faves. So I just cut the end off. Now these scissors, I'm telling you, I keep saying I need to get some new scissors for crafting, and I just haven't done it yet. But it takes forever to cut these without mangling it because I think they're from the Dollar Tree too, so I know they're not the best scissors, but whatever. Put a little bit of Fabri-Tac on the end and glued that down into place. And it's not the most glamorous seam, but again, it's the back and it's going to sit in the back of the wall, so no big deal to me. And I'm just making my final adjustments on that, and this is what it ended up looking like. I thought it was so cute. Looks way better than it did for Christmas. And of course it has flowers on it. What better for me, right? I live, eat, and breathe flowers. And I love this little yellow wooden knob, and the color goes perfectly with the yellow flowers in the parchment paper. So now we are going to go on to our third and final craft for this video. And for this one, I found this little birdhouse at my local thrift store. It had some really weird sparkly stuff, and it was like crunchy, glued to the top. I was trying to get closer so you could see it, but somebody had painted it, and it was a real kind of a shabby looking paint. It wasn't even good coverage. So I'm going to take my little micro sander kit, and any of the things that I'm using in this video, if you are interested in them, they will be down in the description box below. They are affiliate links, so I do make a tiny little commission off of the purchase if you make them. If you go into Amazon through one of my links and if you purchase one of my products or not, anything else that you put in your product at the time you go in and make that purchase within 90 days, I do get a small commission for that as well. So if you have several things that you're wanting to get off Amazon that day, if you do it through one of my links, it does help me out a lot, and I totally appreciate it. So back to this, I'm just using the micro sander to get that crunchy glittery stuff off, and then I just grabbed one of the pieces of sandpaper to get in those little groove lines because it was everywhere and it made a mess, and I'm just going to clean up. You see all those crunchies there? So now this paint I got off the free marketplace on Facebook, and I'm going to paint the whole thing white, and then I'm going to do the roof and the trim in this Waverly Moss chalk paint. So I won't bore you with the whole painting of this because it's just, I'm just painting the birdhouse, and it's kind of a creamy white color. I really liked it. You can't really tell the difference on this, but I did decide to do the eaves because the person who had this before didn't paint those at all and they were still brown. So now that is all painted, and it looks much better. There's no streakiness going on anymore. And now I'm going to put on this moss green. Oh my gosh, the minute I hit this on the top of the birdhouse, oh, I love this color. I don't know why, I've always loved it. But I'm doing the top of the birdhouse, the underside, and the other side, and the little trim on the bottom. And thankfully I have a pretty steady hand because I didn't want to have to tape any of this off and mess with that. So now, what I wanted to do is, because I love this lavender napkin that I have. Yep, I'm Mod Podging again. I know a lot, I feel like I'm Mod Podging a lot lately, but I really don't have the money to go buy a bunch of rub-on transfers or anything like that. So I'm kind of sticking with Mod Podging at the moment. But this napkin, and when I bought these napkins, I loved them. I'm like, oh my gosh, how many things can I do with this napkin? I just love it so much. So if you have any ideas of what you'd like to see me put this print on, or any of the other prints that I've used before, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see if I can make it work for you. Now, when I got to this point, I just had to use my scissors and cut a little opening so that the little perch on the birdhouse could poke out in between my napkin. And it got a little fiddly right there because it wrinkled, but I was able to just smooth it out with my fingers because I had such a light layer of Mod Podge on the base of the birdhouse. And I just worked my way all around. And as I went around the corner, I had to be careful too, because kind of like with the canister, when you go around the corners, I don't know why, but it just never wants to seem to be as straight as it was on the previous side. And then because that full strip didn't go all the way around the birdhouse, I just had a couple of pieces I had to add on. And then I blew that dry and then added some more Mod Podge, and that's how it turned out. Most of the wrinkles came out and it looked really cute. Now I want to add this little mushroom bird. I've had this for so long. I think I probably got them at Joann Fabrics back when they were in business, but it's so hard for me to find cute mushroom birds. I can't find them anywhere local anymore. Probably just have to drive to Hobby Lobby and see. But I'm going to put some of this moss on the perch and then a little bit inside the hole so it looks like the bird is making his nest. And I burnt my fingers a few times because I forgot my silicone finger downstairs. But see, I just wanted a little bit in there just to look like he's building a nest inside there for his little home or her little home. And then I'm going to cut off some crunchy pieces off of this moss. This is stuff I just picked up in my wooded section outside. And I'm going to glue a piece onto each side of this perch before I put my little bird on. And I really enjoy using this moss. It's everywhere outside in my wooded section. And then I'm just going to put a blob of hot glue on the top of my perch. And then I'm going to put my cute little birdie right on top there, claiming his birdhouse. And then once I got that secured on there, I took the tiniest little piece of moss, put a little dab on the underside of his beak, and then put that little piece of moss underneath there so it looked like he was gathering his materials to build the nest. And I just think it turned out so sweet. But then I thought it's too white up at the top of the birdhouse. I think I might with another piece of lavender sprig up there. So that's what I did. So hopefully it doesn't look too hokey, but I thought it was just too white before. And now I'm going to take this string, and before I put it all around the base here, I'm going to defuzz it. And then I'm just going to put a light bead of hot glue all the way around the base of this, if I can get it started. And I'm just going to wrap it around the whole thing until I get to the other side. And this is just to kind of hide the green edge to the white and where the Mod Podge was at the bottom. It turned out pretty good, but I just this trim here, I just think it gave it a finishing touch. So this is what my birdhouse looked like at the very end. A complete transformation from what it looked like before, and I just love it. I think this is my favorite piece of the day. So let me know what you think of this one. And that sweet little bird, oh my goodness. If you know any place where you can source these cute little mushroom birds still, let me know down in the comments because I really am looking to get some more. So here is the final reveal of all the projects that we did today. We'll start down here with our little botanical flowered canister with the parchment paper we got from Hobby Lobby. The green moss we got from the Dollar Tree. And the canister was just my thrift store find. Then we will move up to my little bird. Again, I just love the little feet. I love how the jute twine, when you pull those three pieces together, it just really looks like little birdie feet. And the pinking sheer edge, it's so fun. And I mean, your ideas can go endless with that, with the fabrics. And then again to our sweet little birdhouse that we just did. I just love it. So don't forget to check out the description below for the host channels, the link to the playlist so you can see what everybody else made in this challenge. And I just want to thank you for hanging out with me. I truly appreciate it, and I will see you next time.